He's the only president in our lifetime that didn't create a new war. Does that mean anything to people? Our soldiers are not dead because Trump didn't send them to war.
You've talked about being a Trump supporter, and I'd ask this to if somebody was so public about being a Biden supporter or a Ramaswamy supporter. Why? Why do you support Trump? What is it that that you like most about him? Do you feel like you see yourself in them? Because that's kind of where that if I'm looking at this from outside, I see a guy who is very kind of anti-establishment, wants to be able to control, as you said, kind of control and have some power, right? And kind of buck the trends. And I see that with Trump as well.
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of Donald Trump as a personality. Donald Trump has been a relevant figure in pop culture and really in the world as long as I can remember. One of my first memories of Donald Trump was one of the WrestleManias. I think it was like WrestleMania 4 or 5. I can't remember. It was at one of his hotel casinos, and I think it was 5. I think it was when Hogan and Macho Man had the mega powers exploded at WrestleMania 5. I was a big wrestling fan. And all I remember was Donald Trump, and the camera panned to him. He's walked in, he's got these women around him, and I'm going, that's the richest man in the world right there, because it's just the way that he's always had this aura about him. So I've always been a fan of Donald Trump, the entertainer, the businessman, the personality. I watched The Celebrity Apprentice. I loved it. I've always just enjoyed him being such an asshole. And but I never really believed he was serious about running for president. I just didn't. And so politically, I have growing up in Alabama and in the South, I was definitely raised as a Republican. And I hated George W. Bush after his first term. I still hate George W. Bush probably more than any president in my lifetime. I despise George W. Bush, and that made me despise the Republican Party because I thought George W. Bush was a horrible person, a terrible person. I won't go into all the things that I think he's guilty of, but let's just say Trump shouldn't be the one that should be indicted. It should be people like George W. Bush, along with the horrible Democrats. But George W. Bush made me hate the Republican Party. He made me despise everything that the Republican Party represented, to the point where I hated him so much that I supported Obama. Didn't vote for Obama, never voted in my life until Trump. But just from a support standpoint, I was like, I would rather have this Obama guy than anything Republican Party, because I hate George W. Bush and everybody associated with that administration. I think they're all evil, horrible people. And then, of course, Obama turned out to be just a horrible president, especially in his second term. That's where race relations started to break down. That's where you started to see with the anti-cop narrative, with all the identity politics. I watched all that play out, and I'm just going, man, what the hell are we doing here, man? Like everybody in Hollywood, everyone in Washington is corrupt, just like everyone in Hollywood. And then Trump starts talking about running for president, and I'm going, there's no way this dude's running for president. He's clearly promoting his next book, or he's clearly promoting something else. But on a pure entertainment level, I was fascinated. I was like, what is he going to do? And that whole thing coming down the escalator, and then everything he was saying. And I'm like, I'm not sure he's serious, but I love what he's saying. I love his messaging. I love everything he's doing, and he's calling out like everything. And then I'll never, ever forget. I've talked about this on my channel 1,000 times. I'll never forget this. It was in South Carolina, Republican primaries, debate stage, and George W. Bush, for the first time ever, was coming back out on the campaign trail to help Jeb because Jeb was struggling. And at that point in time, George W. Bush had like a 94% approval rating in South Carolina with Republican voters. 94% approval rating. On that stage, during that debate, Donald Trump stood on stage and told Jeb Bush to his face that your brother lied about weapons of mass destruction, that Donald Rumsfeld lied, the Bush administration lied, they're all terrible people, and the whole place booed Trump out of the building. And I'm just going, there is not a single human being on the planet that would do what that man just did. Every single person running for politics plays the numbers. Nobody nobody would stand on stage in a Republican primary in front of Republican voters that said 94% were voting for, that supported Bush. Bush is back on the campaign trail, and you just stood there and told his brother, your competitor, that his brother's a liar. And I'm like, I love this man. And at that point in time, that was it. I mean, it wasn't like I was questioning if I would support Trump. I was questioning if he was serious. But at that point in time, like, this man is like no other. And I've always felt that Donald Trump is, no matter what room Donald Trump walks in, he's always going to be the most important man in the room. This is before he became president. He just has that presence. He has this aura. He has something special about him. But that was the moment right there where I'm like, I will never, ever stop supporting this man because of that moment right there. And the rest is history. And he's just continued to buck the trend. And he stands against a lot of political corruption. And I love him to death for it.
So what do you say to people who say, oh, he's racist? You know, all the things that you hear. He's, you know, Donald Trump, he's a racist. And then ultimately, if you're a supporter, you get branded that. Like, and more specifically, let's start there. Then I actually want to go into, like, what do you think from a policy perspective he excelled at? Because that's something that I feel like people just kind of lump him into they say, oh, Donald Trump was this. Wow, he was a horrible person. Wow, he's a horrible. And if you voted for him, you're horrible. Let's kind of start there.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't have a lot of conversations with people that call Trump racist anymore, because, just to be clear, they don't even think I'm worthy of a conversation with them. So they just like to throw those labels at me. And so I laugh them off. But back in the day when I used to actually be able to talk to people, I would just say, can you point to anything racist he's ever said? And then they always go back to, well, he said all Mexicans are rapists. I'm like, no, he didn't. Listen to the quote. Listen to the quote. Listen to the specific things that he said. And then they listen to it like, oh, I didn't hear it like that. No, because you heard MSNBC tell you what he said, or you heard CNN. And so I always just ask him, like, what did he say that was racist? And like, oh, well, he said there were good people on both sides and all that. It's like, did you actually hear what he said? And then I gotta get it. So it's real easy to dispute those nonsensical claims right there, because those are people that just listen to the talking heads. And it's so easy to debate those things and knock those down. Just ask him, can you point to anything racist that he's actually said? But I can point to a lot of racist things Joe Biden said. I can point to a lot of racist things Joe Biden said. And I love, there's clips of people that will go around. This is before the 2020 election. They would use Joe Biden quotes, but they would tell people that Trump said them, you know?
Yeah, and people are like, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard in my life.
Right, yes, right. It's so beautiful to watch that all play out. But yeah, so it's real easy when somebody says Trump's a racist. So can you actually quote me on what he said that was racist? And they can't. It's really easy.
So okay, let's fast forward a couple of years, or a year or so, right? Let's just say everything goes your way, right? And I actually asked this of Razorfist a couple of weeks ago, and his answer was pretty unique. Let's say everything goes your way, okay, and Trump wins in 2024. What happens?
Chaos is going to happen. It's going to be chaos. It's going to be chaos no matter what happens. But if Trump wins, they're going to, it's going to be so bad. And this is why I'm so disappointed in DeSantis, because I feel like DeSantis could have been such a powerful ally for Trump if he would have either supported him, or either potentially been his vice president, or just been in his cabinet. Because Trump is facing so much from so many sides, whether it's the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, the mainstream media, the powers that be. And if he gets back in office, he's going to need all the support he can get, because they're going to try and derail him every step of the way, just like they did in his first term. They did everything they could to derail him. And you talk about policy, the man didn't create a new war. He's the only president in our lifetime that didn't create a new war. Does that mean anything to people? Our soldiers are not dead because Trump didn't send them to war. We're talking about a bunch of warmongers like George W. Bush that literally are in bed with companies like Halliburton, which sit around and have a no-bid contract. They exist for war. They exist for war so that politicians can line their pockets. Trump didn't create any new wars. In fact, he didn't just not create new wars. He created historic peace deals. He brokered historic peace deals. How is that not the most singular, valuable thing to any voter right now? I mean, it's incredible. War is a horrible, horrible thing. No matter who wins, we all lose. War is terrible. It takes a toll on families, it takes a toll on innocent people. It's a terrible, terrible thing. And Donald Trump went out of his way to not only not create war, but to create peace. And they hate him for it because these politicians need war. They need division. They need those things. And he battles against that. And so that's just a little bit of, I mean, look, man, you go to the gas pump just like I do every day. It's bad right now. It's terrible. Under
But
Trump,
Jeremy,
it wasn't.
the president doesn't control the gas prices.
Oh yeah. He just has no control over it. So yeah, so it's so moving forward, and if he does get reelected, and I do believe he will be, man, it's gonna be chaos. And I don't like.
What does that mean?
It means so they're going to throw everything. Look at what they're doing to him right now. Like right now, with all of the indictments. Look what they did with his the New York judge claiming his property is only worth $18 million in Mar-a-Lago. The things that they're throwing against him that are just unfair by any normal standard for any other person in his position. They just unfairly throw stuff. So the Democrats will do everything in their power to block him, to create problems for him. They're just going to throw roadblock after road. Like, I don't want to get too far into like January 6th, for instance. January 6th is bullshit. It's bullshit. The fact that like we had feds there on the ground that were creating all of this havoc, and now you've got independent journalists being locked up for words. You know what I mean? Like I don't think we're prepared for what's about to happen if Trump gets reelected.
Obviously, I mean, when you say chaos, are you thinking socially as well? Are there riots? Is there chaos? Does this lead to civil war? Are the red states and blue states separate?
I think we already are in a civil war. It's just not the civil war that we picture it to be, where people are out in the streets fighting. We're in an information civil war already. I mean, they deplatformed a sitting president of the United States of America in 2020 from all social media. Social media is our lifeline to everything. And they deplatformed him off everything. The sitting president. That's civil war right there. We're in a social media civil war, which directly ties into our day-to-day lives. And so the indictments with Trump, the judgment in New York, and everything going on, it's chaos. So we're already in one, and I think that what that looks like is it's not going to look. We're not going to have BLM riot level of civil war from that perspective, in my opinion, as much as it's just the information war. And it all started with Alex Jones, with them deplatforming Alex Jones, and that was like, I believe that they always do things to test for the bigger thing that they want to go after. And I think that Alex Jones was the beginning, but certainly as much as Alex Jones was a problem for them, he was also a test. Can we get away with getting rid of this guy? Because there's going to be someone worse we're going to have to get rid of at some point, and that person is Trump. But I think we're already in a civil war in a lot of different ways.
Okay, so what happens if it goes the other way? And let's say Joe Biden wins in 2024. Number one, does Joe Biden make it? And
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so.
Whether it's Joe Biden or the Democrats win in 2024, what does that look like? What is there chaos again?
So we're fucked if Trump doesn't win, first of all. Secondly, I have been saying this for a long time now. I don't think Joe Biden will be the Democratic nominee. I have been saying it's Gavin Newsom, which is wholly terrifying in every way possible, because I am scared of Gavin Newsom. I talked about this on Cobra Cast last night. Gavin Newsom is terrifying. Now, Laura Loomer seems to think that it's going to be a Gavin Newsom, big Mike Obama, Michelle Obama ticket. That's what she believes. I don't think that Biden... I think that they would rather have Biden overall right now, because Biden he's weekend at Bernie's. You know what I mean? They can do whatever they want with him. They just roll him out there. He mumbles a few words, and then the people in the shadows are doing all the work and creating all the narratives. But I personally just don't see that Joe Biden actually makes it to 2024 at this point in time. I just don't see it. And I've been of the belief that Gavin Newsom is the manipulative snake in the grass that they really do want, because he's got that kind of look. He's got that sleazeball mentality. He's ruined California, and it clearly didn't hurt his stock at all. But with that said, I don't know if America can survive if Trump doesn't win. And I know that sounds like hyperbole, and I don't like talking like that, but look how bad things have gotten in just a few years. Like the democracy, they're trying to take Trump off of the ballots right now. The most popular person in this country that is dominating right now. We have never seen someone with this big of a lead in a primary ever. And Trump is ahead by like 50 points. And they're arresting the political rival of the president of the United States right now. They are arresting him to derail him. They're trying to take his name off the ballots. That is a fundamental, that is fundamentally loses everything America's built on. We're already seeing it right now. And so my whole argument has been, if Trump doesn't get back in office in 2024, then everything's done, because they took it from him in 2020 already, and they've stopped him from regaining it in 2024. And at that point in time, you think you're important enough, Craig? You think I'm important enough? If they can take Trump down, who the fuck are we?
Oh, of course.
You know, and that's my that's what I get scared about, is like, look at the inflation. Look how bad it's gotten right now. And this is with Trump still a thing. And you take Trump out of the equation, who can compete with them? Who can stand against them? Who can do anything?
Okay, well, if things are so bad, right? Which we all see the prices of everything going up, inflation and gas and everything. It costs a lot to live right now. Trump goes into the office. He only has 4 more years. So what's
Right.
after Trump? Is it just go back to status quo? How does it?
And that's why I brought DeSantis up, because I'm from the state of Florida. I was a huge fan of Ron DeSantis as the governor of Florida. And I wanted DeSantis to be the heir apparent to Trump. You know what I mean? I wanted 4 years of Trump and 8 years of DeSantis. Clearly, DeSantis, there is no scenario where he can recover in my eyes. There's no scenario. He is done. He is a snake he is a backstabber. He has ruined his political career. There's nothing he can do at this point in time. And so that's what bothers me, is we don't have the heir apparent. Now, there's people out there, like a lot of people think Tucker is going to position himself for 2028, which I think would be fantastic, but we don't have anybody else. But what we do know is that Trump walked in office in 2016 and immediately started to fix things immediately. All right. So there's no doubt now, with him already having the experience of being in office once, there's no doubt he walks back in in 2024, 2025, and he will get things correct from the moment, I'd say 6 months. 6 months, he's going to have everything working properly and everything turned around. I said this: if I get a chance to interview Trump, and I have been trying to put fillers out there for that, because I know people that know Trump. If I get to interview Trump, that will be my number one question to him. I said this last week on Cobra Cast. My number one question will be, I have no problem believing you will fix things when you get back in office. None whatsoever. What does a world after Trump look like, though? You need to position someone. Who do you have in mind that you can bring along with you that can carry on your legacy after you're gone? Because that is an important question. And I don't have the answer to that question. I have no answer for it. And I hope he does. But that's a huge problem right now that I think we have to consider for sure. And I don't know who it is.
Hey, if you enjoyed that clip, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Would greatly appreciate that, so you can find more clips on the channel. And of course, come join us live Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time for our live Side Scrollers podcast. We would love to see you there.